On today's For the Record, smoking hookahs in Hamilton, how the facilitators should facilitate, and encouraging immigrants to stay. That's where we begin on this Opinionators edition. Let's meet today's panel, shall we? The man behind the Festival of Friends is back. Lauren Lieberman. Liebs, hello.
Good to see you, Mr. Farr.
Co-host of Taglish Radio on CFMU-FM, Joanie Levitas is back. Hi, Joanie.
Hi, Jason.
And communications powerhouse, Laura Babcock. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Jay.
Opinionators, let's get right to it. As a city, we're losing immigrants at an alarming rate, according to Denise Davies' article recently in the Hamilton Spectator. That was out Friday. The number of immigrants coming to Hamilton has stagnated, even though other cities across Canada are seeing sharp increases. That finding and the disproportionate number of refugees who are coming to Hamilton are part of a report going to City Council next week. The report shows the city is no longer attracting the immigrants needed to grow Hamilton's population and economy. So, what needs to be done to reverse this trend? Who wants to begin?
Well, one of the really important things, I think, with attracting immigrants is to be able to provide them both good jobs when they get here, good employment opportunities. It's also to be able to help them through integration into the community, to get them really involved, because there's a lot of obstacles, linguistic obstacles and cultural obstacles. And there are some good organizations locally like CISO and the Hamilton Centre for Civic Inclusion that are working on that, but there's always more that needs to be done. But another important factor from my understanding of immigrant recruitment is for the immigrants who are here in our community to enjoy living here and working here and have a good experience, because that leads to them encouraging immigration from their family and friends. So it's not just about having sort of the high-level programs, the political will, even, you know, the good jobs. It's also about making sure that the immigrants who are here are actively engaged and enjoying their experience here in Hamilton, and that will help them to invite their family and friends. It's a key piece.
Joanie, you agree with that?
Absolutely not. I think the issues, the systemic barriers that we're talking about, from language to the social services to everything that Laura has been talking about, they've all been addressed by these agencies that have been built and created for years and years.
And now recently, Joanie, the City of Hamilton has created a website that
exactly. But then again, does it really address the issues of unemployment and poverty, whereby it is increasing consistently? And so, of course, they have to leave Hamilton because they have to survive. Otherwise, if they stay here, which, of course, the city and, of course, the government of Canada has not really kept up its promise of saying the land of milk and honey, whereby they have to sell their properties from all over the world to come to Canada, knowing that they have something here to see and live at least decently, only to find out that there are higher levels of unemployment and poverty, more like worse than a third world country.
Yeah, now to put a hard number on that, according to Davies' article Friday, Lauren, Hamilton has welcomed approximately 35,431 newcomers over 10 years. However, an estimated 1/3 leave within 12 months because of what Joanie just hit on, job shortages and a high poverty rate.
Yeah, I'm got a different opinion on all of this. I don't think that Hamilton has a employment and poverty issue in relation to immigration. I think Hamilton has a poverty and unemployment issue, period. And whether or not immigrants are coming here and not finding the opportunities they thought, how about those who are already here losing the opportunities they had? Something that confuses me very much. That report suggested that the only immigrants in large mass that we seem to be retaining are the refugees and people who enter the government system.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm a doctor coming from country X, wouldn't I have a job before I come to Hamilton, Ontario? I certainly wouldn't move to another country without seeking employment first. We're not talking about refugees. We're talking about immigrants. And I'm very confused by that. And I don't think that we need to address employment issues for any one segment. We have the same issue with the brain drain. Our academics are leaving this city. It's everybody needs to work together to create jobs and lessen
and you know
poverty.
what, Lauren,
I agree
actually,
with that,
all three
Lauren.
of us have said the same thing. My very first comment out of my mouth was that we need to have better jobs for immigrants, and I addressed that. So I'm not sure why Joanie disagrees with me. We said the same thing. But for all of us, for sure. One of the realities is I think a doctor might come here, but they're caught up in processing, and it takes a while for their accreditations to come through.
That's not a secret.
No, but see, you're talking about processing
federally as well.
No, but you're talking about processing, meaning that I agree with Lauren in terms of, yes, for all Hamiltonians in general, we need to have jobs for everyone. And the problem is because we segregate them and say these are immigrants, we need to have them as such. And of course, that's where the equal opportunity perspective comes into place. And so then it becomes a big issue to a fact that they are so discriminated against. And so they are left out in the dark and say, no, you're immigrants, you're second-class citizens. So of course, the Hamiltonians are the first priority. That is what's happening.
That? What? Where are you hearing that
that's
from?
Exactly.
What?
No.
Who's saying that?
No, it's not being said. It's being it's happening. It's being felt by immigrants.
When I shouted, and there's no doubt about it, there's discrimination, but what I said was groups like HCCI and CISO and the city are working very hard to make sure that our immigrant populations find good jobs and feel included in our city. There's a lot of work going on to that regard. Not enough, there's probably never going to be enough, just like there's not going to be enough jobs or poverty remediation for everybody.
We all have all councils and agencies, but there's nothing. There's no jobs there for them, right?
But if the employment market sucks for immigrants, they feel like they're being treated like second-class citizens, when in fact it's just as simple as the employment market sucks.
And I don't want to speak for how immigrants are feeling.
It seems to me, Joy, that an immigrant comes here only to find there are no jobs.
No, I think it's more of the standard of living, Jason, because what is happening, and when you apply outside of Canada, they have so much requirements to fill in order for you to come in, only to find out that those requirements don't really exist here. When you come here and you say, I have this much of an educational background, and then you come here and you have nothing.
Hence
and then, of course, you're being relegated to a position which is not even non-existent.
But wait a second.
Which is why we have to give them more value for their education abroad. That's my accreditation argument.
Wait a
we
second.
We need to fix the system for them and for everyone else who works here.
Let me in. This makes no sense, because if it was a federal issue of paperwork and not recognizing credentials, this wouldn't be a Hamilton issue.
It
would be a national issue. And our statistics are out of whack with the nation.
Yeah, no,
Lauren,
Kitchener, Waterloo, St. Catharines, all around us, Brantford even, immigrants get there and stay there, not after 12 months.
Okay, but follow that thought one step further. The paperwork that they're required to do in those municipalities are somewhat more valid.
Don't
that makes no
oversimplify
sense.
a complex problem, Lauren. It's both. It's both accrediting the education and the jobs of the immigrants that are coming with those papers and with that education. It's providing jobs and helping with poverty for the immigrants who don't have that when they come in. It's about integrating the ones who are here so they feel more involved in our society and invite their friends and family, knowing it'll be a good experience. It's a multifaceted approach. It's not a simplistic thing. It's not just Hamilton, although Hamilton has bigger issues with poverty than those other communities we cited.
It should be as
bigger
simple.
issues with
it
employment, and that's why it translates over into the immigration issue as well.
You make it so complicated. That's why it's so convoluted. It should be simple. It's just a simple standard of living.
It sounds like the kind of thing, Laura, that they might have brought up at the Economic Summit you attended yesterday.
I did.
They bring up the immigration issue?
Several times, in fact. At the very beginning, the Conference Board of Canada was talking about the Hamilton economy and the national economy, and they said that the net population growth of Hamilton is dependent on immigration. So it's not just, it'd be nice if they were here. We absolutely need to be better at this. This is not me making this up. This is the Conference Board of Canada talking about what Hamilton has to do better. It was also brought up during another discussion that happened around the TICAT situation, and the head of the Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion, an opinionator, one of the chairs, Evelyn Meary, stood up and talked about the role of immigrants in that economic decision going forward and what they need in value. So the whole idea that they're somehow segregated out or they're not thought about as being important and integral to our community is just not accurate. The summit 100% dealt with immigration.
Well, look at the agenda of the Economic Summit, for example. Did you see it in that website?
Did
where
you
it says
attend the
there's
Economic
nothing.
Summit?
There's nothing. No, I did not. But
I did,
saw
and
the
I can
agenda.
tell you what was brought up. And what was brought up was an inclusive conversation where the head of HCCI was able to stand up, be heard by all the leaders in the city, all the politicians, the media, and advocate for the fact that immigrants need easily accessible stadiums, transportation, jobs, etc. So very much it was brought up in the summit, both in the original keynote speaker first thing in the morning, that was part of his speech. You might not have seen it in the actual written agenda, but he covered immigration, and HCCI was there and participated. So if you attend, you'll have a better idea of what actually goes down.
No, but that's what the Hamilton Spectator has been reporting so far in terms of what they have covered, which is the Pan-Am, the infrastructure, and I've seen the immigration at the very bottom of the list.
I can get you the videotape of the whole conference. It was
Well,
taped by a
that's
local
good.
production
It's
company.
for everyone to actually
If you were
see,
there,
not just
you
for
would
me.
know. That's
All
part
right.
of the reason I go to these things, right?
Laura, you were, and
Yes.
joining, I'm afraid to say, in our next segment, we're going to the top of the list. Panel number one was all TICATs versus City, and that's next. next. As a matter of fact, on For the Record, we got a little bit of an in here. A Name That facilitator. The spec says today that it could be a former Burlington city manager. Stay tuned. It's the Opinionators edition.